Before the world kept memories, before any voice could shape meaning, humanity existed only as a whisper on the wind, a fragile beginning, a quiet possibility. The earth was enormous, wild, and indifferent, but within this landscape walked the earliest beings who would one day become us. Curious, observant, full of instincts they did not yet understand. Their world was carved by stone and wind. Days were long, nights were cold, and survival required constant attention. They studied shadows, listened to distant echoes, and watched the sky for signs. Every movement mattered. Every choice shaped their fate. Before humans shaped the world shaped them. They became observers, students of nature. They learned where animals migrated, how seasons shifted, and how the land responded to time. Awareness became their first tool. A broken stone revealed a sharper edge. A fallen branch showed leverage. A scattered bone sparked curiosity. These discoveries were simple, almost accidental, yet each one shifted the path of humanity, giving form to the first tools. Human hands learned to shape possibilities. Stone flakes turned into blades. Branches became handles. Bones became hammers. Each tool extended their reach into the world, turning survival from instinct into strategy. Before language, there was movement. A raised hand signaled direction. A nod signaled safety. A gesture signaled cooperation. Without words, they built the first threads of connection. Meaning emerged through patterns. Patterns became memory. Memory became culture. From simple gestures grew the architecture of communication, a foundation for everything humans would one day build. Shelter began with recognition. Natural caves, tree formations, cliff overhangs. These became early sanctuaries. Eventually, humans learned to reinforce them with branches and stones, creating the first intentional homes. Humans survived not by strength, but by adaptation. They watched how storms formed, how rivers shifted, how landscapes changed with the seasons. Adaptation became a silent teacher, one that guided every step they took. Small groups grew into communities. With more eyes, more hands, and more awareness, humans began to share responsibilities. They gathered food, discovered new habitats, and learned from each other's mistakes. Community became a survival strategy. Cooperation gave humans a new strength, purpose. Survival was no longer an individual struggle. It became a shared mission, a united goal that pulled them forward through uncertainty and danger. Footsteps carved the first paths across the land. Humans returned to familiar places, creating invisible trails guided by memory. These paths became routes, later becoming roads, migrations, and eventually the borders of civilizations. Memory allowed humans to return to water sources, seasonal shelters, and important landmarks. It connected past to present, turning survival into knowledge passed from one generation to the next. When humans discovered fire, not just as heat, but as a gathering place, their world changed forever. Fire became light, protection, and a place where ideas could grow. Around fire, humanity learned to pause and to think. In flickering firelight, shadows danced on stone walls. Humans began imagining shapes, patterns, and meanings. These quiet moments were the birth of storytelling, a way to share experiences without having to relive them. Scratches on stone, lines drawn in dirt, handprints on cave walls. These were the earliest symbols, not yet language, but seeds of expression. Humans were learning to preserve meaning beyond the moment. Humans learned to read the earth. A bent blade of grass meant someone or something had passed. Cracked soil meant drought ahead. The world became a map, full of signs waiting to be interpreted. Thought began to stretch forward. Humans started planning. Securing food for lean seasons, preparing shelters before storms, choosing locations with long-term safety. Strategy replaced reaction. The greatest transformation was not physical, it was mental. Humans began understanding cause and effect. They began imagining outcomes. They became thinkers, shaping the world around them with intention. Groups met other groups. They exchanged knowledge, shared territories, and learned from one another's successes. These interactions formed the earliest human networks, long before trade or language existed. Culture began forming through shared habits, rituals, gatherings, rhythms, and customs. These were simple but powerful. They created identity. They created belonging. For the first time, humans thought not only about survival, but about tomorrow. They imagined where to go, how to prepare, what to teach the next generation. Vision, forward thinking, became humanity's greatest evolution. From tools to rituals, from memory to vision, humans became something extraordinary. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the most adaptable. And because of that, they thrived in places no other species dared to venture. This was the dawn of us, a species defined not by dominance, but by discovery. Not by violence, but by cooperation. Not by instinct, but by imagination. The world shaped us, and in time, we learned to shape the world in return.